So, today I'll be talking about how to start baking at home. And that's my presentation today to kind of get you guys getting started on exactly what you need to do if you, for example, want to start baking at home and possibly maybe over time make it something that could be like a hustle, a side hustle, or just even just be a serious hobbyist, which is okay too, right? So I'm just gonna get straight into my presentation. I'm not gonna dilly dally at all, just so that I can get to my information. So today I'll be talking about two main things: why I think it's important to learn how to bake, and then I'm gonna share 5 things I did to get started baking at home that you can also do to get started as well. Okay. So you might be wondering, why should I learn how to bake? Now I'm talking to anybody who doesn't bake seriously, or somebody maybe who you've been thinking about getting into baking, but you're like, I don't know if it's worth it, right? So I think that it's great to learn how to bake because we all need, like, as human beings, I feel we all need a way to just express ourselves, right? To be creative, to express ourselves individually. And people do it differently, right? There's people who paint, there's people who dance, there's people who cook. For me, I love baking, among other things, but baking is my main thing, right? There's people who do sports. So, whatever your thing is, baking can be a really nice way to just kind of be creative and be artistic and express yourself in a different way. Another reason I think that people should learn how to bake is because of connection and sharing. Like, by learning how to bake, first and foremost for me, I was able to like share um, just handmade, delicious stuff with my family and my friends. And by the way, you know how they say that there's 5 love languages? I truly believe there is 6 love languages, right? Because I feel like food is one of the love languages. And for me, it's been such a love language, right? Like, if I like you, I'm baking you stuff, right? I'm bringing you chiffon cake, or I'm bringing you some type of chiffon roll or something. So I feel that baking helps us with connection and sharing. Another thing is that, especially if you are very conscious of what you eat, if you have family, if you have a spouse, if you have children, it's a really nice way of baking somebody a cake, making sure you know exactly what has gone in there. If you have good recipes, like for me, one of the reasons I started baking is that I didn't like cakes that had too much sugar, right? This is a lot of people. A lot of us don't want a lot of sugar. And you'll notice that a lot of commercial people will tend to put a lot of sugar in there, and you don't want that. So it can be just a way of connecting with people, sharing things, or sharing love with people by baking them stuff. Also, another thing is that I have met so many friends, right? Like, that in the middle is just a picture of some bakers that I've met. I've met a lot of wonderful people because they are bakers, and I start connecting them because of baking. And then we ended up just being friends for other reasons, right? So that's just another way of connecting with people. And the third reason why I think people should bake is that it can become an income generating activity. And that's what happened to me. I used to have a job. I ended up quitting my job and started my business. I'm not telling you it's easy, but it ended up being some way of me generating income in my life, right? So if you start, you get serious, you have a passion for it, then you become proficient and you become a professional at it. It can be a way for you to make money. And I'm not the only one who's done this, right? If you're in Kenya, if you're whatever you are, you will know that there's lots of people who are earning their income by baking. That started like a passion and just became this serious thing. So it can be an income generated activity. I know both bakers who use it as a side hustle, and I know bakers who have it as a main hustle. For me, I started it as a side hustle. I was working and I was selling cakes, and then I quit, and fully became my main hustle. So you can start selling pastries, you can start taking birthday cake orders part-time to just earn some extra cash, and then over time you can just make it your main hustle and do this on purpose, right? So in case you're wondering who I am, my name is Maureen Bilha Kamari. I am a professional baker and trainer. I am the founder and chief instructor of one of my brands, which is Baking with Amari. I have been baking professional over 12 years, but to be honest, I think currently it's like over 25 years that I've been baking, right? I've worked in the baking industry since 2008 in a commercial bakery. It was like the last job I had. I have been an entrepreneur in the baking industry since 2012. That's when I started my first business that failed and started, and then I started again. I've also been training since 2015. So I've been in the business for a bit, right? So do comment below. How long have you been baking? If you're in the baking business, um, why do you bake? Just one of those things. Then what do we do at Baking with Amari? We offer baking and cake decoration classes. We are based in Nairobi, so we do practical classes, but we also do online classes as well. We sell baking recipe ebooks, but we also do printed books sometimes. We just don't have them in stock right now, but we definitely will soon. And we also do baking for business masterclasses. I do like one day masterclasses for costing and pricing. We're having one soon for marketing your cakes, something like that. So anything that has to do with baking and teaching how to bake, we're doing this live is that I'm talking to people who have thought about starting to bake at home, right? If you've maybe done some experiments, they didn't work, and you're like, I don't know, maybe I want this thing, maybe I don't want this thing. Maybe if you want to start baking at home, but you're not exactly sure what to do, right? You're not sure, is it possible, and how do I start? So that's why I'm doing this. And a lot of the reasons I'll do these lives will be multiple questions I'll get that are the same. And so I like doing a live like this to just kind of give you a structured answer on what I think that you should do if you want to start baking. So just a little bit of background today. I want to share with you guys how I started at home. And then out of that, maybe you can see how you can start from home. Right. So when we were young in middle school, we moved to the US. Right. So I personally learned how to bake in high school. And we were in a state called Ohio in the US. And I joined, I think this was like 10th grade or 11th grade, where I did a semester of creative cooking, but half of it was like baking. And that course is what ignited my passion in baking, to be honest, right? I never forgot that teacher. I've forgotten the other teachers in between, but I never forgot that one teacher. Her name was Miss Minadeo. And she introduced me the first concepts of a lot of cooking, but also a lot of baking. And the baking is what stuck for me, right? And it was like 4 months of just very foundational basic stuff that just helped me start baking. And I actually would go home, bake stuff, and then I would like come and give her feedback. Sometimes I'd come with stuff for her to see. So that's the first time I learned how to bake, right? So my first tip for you, right? Even if you're a hobby, because I know people will be like, I'm doing a hobby, just learn the basics, master the basics. I'm not saying become a master baker, just master the basics, right? I started with the foundational techniques in that class. And because of that, what happened is that I wasn't baking bad things, right? I to be honest, I rarely have gotten those results where people are like, oh my God, this went wrong. Rarely, because I learned from the class that first time. And so I think because of that, I was able to get good foundations from that. So please get foundational techniques. You can do this by finding somebody who's a professional baker. You can attend a physical class. You can attend an online class. You can purchase a recipe book, right? It doesn't have to be a class. You can even do a recipe book, but at least get the foundational things that you need so that you're able to actually bake something that makes sense and you aren't wasting ingredients. That's the other thing people forget. If you're doing try and error, you're doing a lot of wasting of ingredients, right? So for example, you can refer to our YouTube videos on helpful topics on cake making, right? And then after that, you can do like bread making and cookie making. Learn various terms that are used by bakers and what they mean, so that when you're reading a recipe and you see the word creaming, you're not wondering, what does creaming mean, right? If you understand what the terms are, you're going to be able to read a recipe and follow it accurately online, right? So I know people love saying that they're self-taught on YouTube, which there's nothing wrong with that. But get some base foundation so that when YouTube people are telling you fold, you know exactly what folding means, right? So if for those of you on YouTube, after this, you can check out our YouTube channel. And even if you're on TikTok, you can just go search Baking with Amari on YouTube. We have a playlist, right, that I've shared tons of information. The playlist is about, I think it's called Learn to Bake for Beginners. And I've shared so much content. Four main types of cakes, sponge cakes, right? Like different types of ingredients. There's so many videos that can give you that foundational information that you're looking for. And if you do that and maybe buy a recipe book, between those two things, you should at least have some foundational information that helps you out, right? So if you're wondering, how do I master the basics? Okay, start by deciding how to master the basics. For example, if you don't have a lot of resources, don't have a lot of money, you can just mix up free content and a recipe book, right? Go to our website or go to our Baking with Amari YouTube channel, check out all those playlists and watch all the stuff. And then buy maybe like our recipe book. We have a recipe book that's like 500 shillings. Buy the recipe book because it has a lot of introduction content, or even other recipe books that you may have that will start making sense to you. So if you don't have a lot of resources, start with free content and a recipe book, and then tons and tons of practice. Second option, online classes, right? Invest in an online class with a professional or a seasoned baker who understands the concept, right? Of course, my thing is, I'll tell you, join our online classes. We have more than one. We have an in-depth one that's coming up. I'll tell you about it in a bit, but start with that one. You know what I'm saying? Just do an online class, get the basics, and then get moving. The best option though, hands-on, right? Get a hands-on physical class. Learn how to bake physically because it's such a practical thing. So the best way to learn, of course, is to do it practically, because you'll get to troubleshoot, you'll get good results, and then after that, you can go and practice at home. But first thing, just choose how you're going to master the basics. I know hobbyists that do a really good job, and what they did literally was actually learn how to bake from a professional. I've trained so many people who are not really selling, but they're baking from home, and they're amazing at the baking that they do. So you can do the same thing. Thanks for the love bubbles, TikTok. Keep them coming. So if you want to decide how to bake, start with our recipe book, as you can see there on the screen. This recipe book has 58 recipes, guys. Cakes, cookies, breads, and basic frostings. It's only 500 shillings if you're in Kenya, $5 if you're not in Kenya. It's also available on Amazon, right? If you're on YouTube, you can check the link below. And you can just start that way, and it just gives you a lot of stuff. Saida, hi, thank you. You did your baking classes for Mari. Oh, Saida, I think I remember. Thanks for joining me on TikTok. Okay, so the second way you can learn is taking an online course, right? We have an online course, and this course actually came from, we had this class, when was it? From January, end of January till April. And it was a 12-week hands-on practical course, right? On Gong Road at our workshop. And a lot of that time when we were doing that intake, we had so many people who kept going like, do you not have an online version? And so we have a 5-month course that's literally the equivalent of that 12-week course. I'll tell you about it. It's 6,000. Okay. So what is the second tip I have for you? What's the second thing that I did when I was starting to bake at home? Number 2, make sure you have basic tools. So to be honest, when it comes to baking, you do need some tools that you have to be able to bake. So just an example, I told you guys that I learned how to bake when I grew up in the US, but we came back, right? We came back around 2007. And one of the things I did when I came back is just, that was such a passion for me. So the first year I was here, because literally I felt like I needed therapy, one of the things I started doing is baking seriously. And what I did is I just looked in our kitchen. I was in my mom's kitchen, and I'm like, what do we have that I can use, right? Now, we had an old cooker, but it was busted. It wasn't working very well. But interestingly enough, at that time, my mom had just bought a charcoal oven. And so guess who started learning how to use a charcoal oven? I did, because I wanted to learn how to bake with it, and I wanted to, perfect that. And so I literally started with a charcoal oven, the what do you call them, bowls and stuff that's in the kitchen. I purchased 3 things, right? I started with measuring tools, whisk, and a mixer. So here's a charcoal oven. You can bake with it. By the way, we still teach people how to bake with them, by the way, guys, at our original workshop then. And for the longest time, from 2015 till I think 2022, we were actually baking with charcoal ovens. But when we moved to our new workshop, we do bake with electricity. However, if you do want to learn how to do the charcoal oven baking, we still train people, by the way, on how to do that. So when I started, these are the 3 things I bought. I bought a measuring cups and spoon set. I bought a whisk, and then I bought a kitchen scale. Because with baking, you need to accurately measure. So that's why I had to get these things. So I had the charcoal oven, I had the extra stuff like the bowls and the stuff, and then I got these items, and I was able to get started on my baking at home. Right? I wasn't baking for selling. I was just baking literally for therapy at home. After a couple of months, these are the tools I started buying after that, right? So I bought a spatula, I got a icing, like a palette knife, mixer, nozzles, tips. That came after, guys. I'm not even kidding. It took a while before I actually did that. So you can just start simply with making sure you have bowls, small, medium bowls, cutlery, like forks and stuff from home. Make sure you have an oven, like a heat source, like this. Like I told you, I had a charcoal oven. You can have a gas cooker, you can have like the microwave size, and then make sure you have measuring cups and spoon sets, you have a whisk, and please get a scale. It's important. Okay, it's important. If you want to bake a 1 kg cake, you need to be able to measure grams. So those are the things I got. So what do you need to do if you're starting from home and you're like, I don't know? Well, make sure you have somewhere to bake the cake. Make sure you have an oven. It can be the cooker if you need to fix it. And I know a lady who came for class and then now went and found a fundi to actually fix her oven. Then make sure you have, or you can use a mini oven, you can use a charcoal oven. Make sure you have measuring tools. This is one of those things that if you don't have, buy first. When it comes to baking is an art, but it's also a science. So make sure you have at least measuring cups and spoons. And when we say cups and spoons, we don't mean the ones from home. No, we mean a specific set, a standard set for measuring cups and spoons. And then make sure you get a kitchen scale. The other thing you need is mixing tools. You have to mix these things. So make sure you have, like, you can start with them. We call wooden spoon, but if you can, get a whisk and get a spatula. Right. And if you're in Kenya these days, they're so easy to find anywhere in the world. You can just shop online or go to your nearest supermarket. These days, even supermarkets sell them. And you can just buy these things. And then one other thing I had to make sure I had was a baking pan. And I remember I actually started with a loaf pan. And then the other times I would use like a pot, like a sufuria. Then over time, I started getting like a cupcake pan and I got other different sizes pans. So you can just start with one pan or just stainless steel pot like a sufuria and just get started, right? So that's what you need to do. For anybody who's interested, because we're doing an intake of our 5-month class, there's a list we keep sending people who haven't even signed up for class yet. We're sending people a list of tools and ingredients you need to start with in the class. Even if you're not signing up for class, you can WhatsApp DM, and I can actually just send you the PDF of the list that you need, because what that's going to do is kind of tell you exactly what you need to get started, right? So if you want one, you can just WhatsApp DM and I will definitely send you that. That's the number you're going to see there. TikTok, the number is on the screen for those of you who can see it. Okay. Now, the third thing you need to do, right? So one of the things, the third thing I did is I understood ingredients and their use. So my first exposure was to ingredients. I just told you I learned from my high school teacher how to bake. And one of the things she covered in that semester was ingredients and what they mean. What are they used for? How do they affect your cake? That kind of thing. Now, after that, I did attend another pastry class. And then after that, I started taking a lot of online classes with pastry chefs where I learned the various functions of ingredients. And at first, I didn't think it was important. But over time, as I practiced and I started baking professionally, I started realizing, wow, so it's really, really important to actually understand ingredients. And that's why I'm always telling people, especially people who, because we'll get students, or I'll even get people in the DM who just kind of come and they're like, oh, I just did this with my recipes and I like tweaking and I don't measure and I use ingredients willy-nilly. And I'll be like, ingredients matter. Don't substitute without understanding why you're substituting. Don't switch up ingredients without understanding why was that first ingredient used the first time, right? So one of the things that when I started getting serious as a professional baker, I actually got so serious in the science of ingredients and I started experimenting, testing recipes, and I still do to this day, right? So it's very important to understand. Again, If you cannot join a class and you go to Baking with Amari on our YouTube channel, you will see we have a whole playlist that talks about ingredients. Please watch those videos, right? They have an overview of the different types of ingredients and just a little bit of exactly what it means for each one. Now, my advice is if you don't have a lot of money for class, but you want to learn these things, get really good recipe books that have that information, like our Baking with Amari recipe. Like, get that. The first 10 pages are introduction on equipment, tools, ingredients, each ingredient, what it does, what you can substitute with it, why it's important, right? It's almost like a textbook, basically. So get that recipe book because it's going to give you that foundation you need to understand. Maybe sometimes it can even help you understand why something is going wrong, right? So that's just something to note. So on this third tip, what can you do if you're getting started? As always, most people are, and by the way, I've taught people who've been baking for like 5 years, didn't learn from anybody, and then some of them learned from the wrong people. And so they have to end up coming back to class because, well, you have to learn how to do it properly, especially if you start selling to people. So attend a class with a professional baker who fully understands ingredients and has experience to advise. So sometimes people will start teaching 6 months after they learn how to bake. They don't have the experience required. So make sure you go find somebody who has that understanding, somebody who can tell you the difference between using all-purpose flour, self-rising flour, the difference between using butter and margarine, the difference between why you shouldn't melt butter or when you should melt butter, that kind of thing. This will help you, especially when you start practicing. And by understanding ingredients, you're actually able to start substituting and tweaking your own recipes because you understand them. So learn from somebody who knows, practice, get support from them. And then as you get that knowledge and you understand, start practicing your own stuff, right? An example I give is that I'll get people who our recipes, a lot of our butter cakes recipes will say, use milk. And automatically people will just substitute water without even thinking about why. So I remember an online class, I actually think it's an online class we're in, where one of our students says that, oh my God, I didn't know the importance of milk. I've just been using water instead of milk in general. I didn't know there was a difference. I've done experiments where I've baked the cake with milk, the cake with yogurt, the cake with mala, the cake with water. And I can tell you the difference between all of them. And I know when to substitute. If I'm substituting milk, you best know that I'm doing something else to replace what milk does. So when it comes to eggs, if the recipe says 4 eggs, stop using 2 eggs, guys. There's a reason why it says 4 eggs instead of 3 or 2. Why are you told to use room temperature ingredients instead of cold ingredients? We also had a student who literally came for class, and the first day of class brought me a cake. It wasn't the greatest cake, it was a bit dense. Later on, when I asked her, after she's done 1 week of class, I asked her, where do you think your problem was? She's like, number 1, I melted the butter instead of using it at room temperature. And I told her, do you see the difference between one small thing? That gave her a dense cake. And when we did cake in class, she had a soft and fluffy cake. So sometimes it's important to understand things before you do them because, again, baking is a science. Now, the fourth thing I'll tell you, and again, you don't have to do this physically, but learn from an experienced baker. Learn from an experienced baker. I can't say that enough. I say that because of my experience meeting people who've learned from inexperienced people and then me having to undo the work and teach them the right way. The 4 months that I attended that first course, that semester I told you guys with Miss Minadeo, is that one of the things that I loved about her is that I would test stuff at home and then I'd come and ask her a question as to what went wrong. And she always had an answer because she'd been baking for years and years. Same thing when I took advanced courses. I would take courses where I know I have access to the instructor and I can ask them questions. Even when I took professional online courses, I used to pick courses where the instructor was actually available to chat at specific times. Why? Because I know I'm going to test and maybe the first time it's not going to be perfect and I want to be able to ask questions. So the same thing for you. Learn from an experienced baker because they're able to tell you what happens, right? When you learn foundational concepts from somebody who's been there before and has the experience, number 1, literally, you get to reduce the amount of trial and error you do because this person has years of experience and they're just condensing that into like 5 days and giving it to you. So over time, it's actually less expensive for you. You don't have to waste so many ingredients testing these things. And then also, a person who has experience can troubleshoot if something goes wrong. So even in class, when stuff goes wrong, I know exactly what to tell the student. We go through what they possibly did wrong, and then we repeat so that the student is able to get it wrong. So if, for example, your bread baked and it didn't bake very nicely, I have an answer for you, right? Why? Because I've been baking for over 15 to 20 years. So over time, I've gained that experience that is required to be able to troubleshoot. Again, if you attend an online class, make sure you have support. Whoever the online class, whoever's offering the online class, make sure you can be able to reach out to them when you encounter challenges. It gives you the support you need to be able to practice nicely. And this is something I am totally obsessive with in our practical classes, right? We have an alumni WhatsApp group, and sometimes people do post on there, but also we actually have people who WhatsApp DM. I also work with other instructors, and if that instructor taught you, a lot of them will reach out to that instructor, right? Another thing is that we have our 5-month online course. It actually started recently, and we have two support group ways. We have a WhatsApp group for support. We have a Facebook group for support, right? Even if you buy our ebook, guys, I am available for you to WhatsApp DM me when it comes to our ebook, because I know you might need help when it comes to understanding something. So this is just to give an example of, I'm a big believer of support. This is a student who came, I think, 2022, did 2 months of class, and when she did her first order, she was just so excited she was able to actually post it on our alumni WhatsApp group and share her results, right? So because of just kind of being motivated by people to keep practicing, she was able to practice and post. And these are but just multiple. We have multiple people post on our groups, just kind of sharing the stuff that they've done. We had a lady come from, where was she from? I've forgotten the place. I think it was Naroko, Masai Land, I forget where. This is the lady on the left. This is the first wedding cake she did. On the right, we had a lady come for a 5-day baking class, and look at this is like 3 or 4 months after. She was practicing and she was taking orders. Again, if you're online, sometimes we have Facebook groups, and sometimes you can just WhatsApp DM, because everybody's different. Some people are too shy to post on Facebook. So on the left here, we have a student who had tried the chocolate sponge cake and it had gone wrong. So over time, she just WhatsApp DM me and goes like, I finally hacked it, right? And shared her screenshot. And these screenshots I always share with permission from our students. On the right is our wedding cake online class. I especially remember this lady, Lillian. She just kept practicing. She was so driven. It's a 4-month online course. And when she did this, I was so excited because she was really practicing. These 2 images right here are ebook people. So if you buy an ebook from us, I have no problem you WhatsApp DMing me and asking questions or just sharing feedback. And I'll tell people, hey, share feedback. Let me know how it goes. So as you can see on the left here, this is somebody who tried the recipes, and definitely, I especially love that she used to bake before and the recipes used to be dense and now they're good, right? So it's tried and tested recipes that we share with you guys. This is a lady on the right. As you can see, I even leave the date so you guys can see we've been doing this since 2015. Even last year, 2023, this is somebody who did our cookie recipe and loved it, right? So as long as you're practicing and you have gone through an online class, practical class, ebook, I'm going to give you the support you need, right, to perfect your baking. Whoever's teaching you needs to make sure they're doing that for you. Why? Guidance and mentorship in the beginning is important. It's extremely important, right? Because like for me, those first years, if I didn't have Miss Mina there, if I didn't have my other instructors, even the online instructors, I don't think I would have made it as well if I wasn't getting guidance, right? If I wasn't getting somebody answering my questions or telling me, try this instead. This is why when you pass through any of our classes, I'm a big fan of helping you out because I know how it feels like to get stuff wrong and you're not sure, right? So guidance and mentorship in the beginning is important for you to be able to grow out. And the reason I help you is because I want you to grow and then grow out of needing my help, right? So first year, second year after that, because you've practiced, you should be able to do it by yourself, right? I love sharing this example because it's from this year. So this lady on the right, her name is Immaculée. We called her Immaculate, but it's French, like Immaculate. So she attended the 12-week course I was telling you guys about. We had from January until April, right? So she does the whole course. It was one of our most intensive courses that I've ever had. We had 4 students, and then after that, she started practicing at home. Like this was like literally immediately as she was practicing from home. And I remember this order she had where she panicked and she was literally having a meltdown. And she tried calling me, she couldn't reach me, but then she DM'd me and I saw her message. And there was so many things. I think the cake had cracked. And then after that, the frosting wasn't working. And I just told her, you know what, we're gonna do this with you. So I told her, send me your buttercream. How does it look like? As you can see, the first picture she sends me. I tell her, okay, this is very watery, add some icing sugar. The second picture, she adds icing sugar. And you see, her frosting was good. So the first picture there on the left is basically like the end result here of what happened to it. It wasn't complicated, it was simple, but it still looked nice. And so she just kind of, stop panicking. And remember, I laughed when I saw her message where she was telling me how she was crying like a baby. And because I have had issues like those, like your first 2, 3, 4 orders, they're nerve-wracking. You want to cry because stuff starts going wrong. And so sometimes if you have a teacher, for those of you who've been taught by somebody and they've held your hand, you know how amazing it feels like to have somebody actually give you the support you need so that when things are just falling apart, you're just like, I need help and I need you to talk to me and stuff like that. I actually remember recently I had a student who lives like near the Ngong Road workshop who was the same. She had a mess. She runs the workshop and tells me, I have issues. And I just, you know what, in the afternoon, come with a cake, we'll fix it. And we fixed it. So if you go through our classes or you have somebody who is a good teacher, they should hold your hand, right? So that you're able to do this with them, right? The middle picture right there is when she started trying to do chiffon cake. She bought a chiffon pan and she sent me her results and she was doing pretty well. And then she started doing celebration cakes as you're seeing this one, the pink one. And I'm so excited because the last picture she sent me, if you can see the date up here, it actually says June 20th, 2024. This is this year. This girl took this 12-week course, she kept DMing me and she's like, I hope you're not tired. I don't get tired. If you're my student, I'm here for you until the end. And so this is like one of the most recent orders she did. And I'm so proud of it because as you can see, this looks like somebody who's been baking for a year, right? So she was able to come to class January to April. She's been practicing since she walked out of that classroom. She got the Baking with Amari ebook or recipe book, sorry, the printed one. When she needed help, she reached out. And right now, she's actually currently able to take birthday and celebration cake orders. So make sure whoever you're learning from knows what they're doing. They're a professional baker and can be able to hold your hand, right? So a professional baker also, I just like putting this in here because I've met people who unfortunately haven't been given the right recipes or good recipes to work with. So I just want to tell you guys, if you take classes from a professional, this person will share tried and tested recipes for their students to use. And if they don't, honestly speaking, unpopular opinion, I don't think they're a good baker. They should share with you correct tried and tested recipes that they are using. We do that. That the recipes we're selling, those are the recipes we're using in our bakery, right? So why is this important? If you follow a tried and tested cake recipe, right? If you're using a tried and tested recipe, it doesn't matter who bakes it. The cake result will always be good. Now, to show you an example, these are people who have not come to class, right? These are people who just bought the ebook. These are bakers who already know how to bake. But when they bought our book, look at the results they got. So this is a lady who bought our recipe. I think this was last year. She bought the Baking with Emma, and the first thing she did was a sponge cake. And look at this. Her texture was so soft, it was amazing. This is an international student from Botswana who bought, I think, late last year. She bought the book and then she attended the online class. Look at this recipe. And she did this even before she got the class. The cake was amazing. These are examples of just people who've used our recipes. Look at the texture on this cake. If I give you a recipe and you know how, you're a baker who already knows what to do, our recipes should work 100% for you. So if you're being taught by a professional, these are the kind of results you should be getting, guys, right? The final tip I want to tell you that really helped me, especially when I started baking from home, it was a game changer for me. If you do this, whether you're a hobby baker, whether you want to pursue being a professional baker, it'll definitely help you out. But before I get into that, remember I mentioned we are having an intake for our 5-month online course, right? It's in depth. And I want to mention this again because a lot of people will ask me, how do I get started? If you can, this is a very good way of you getting started to bake the right way. Because again, if you don't learn the right way, you have to unlearn so many things, right? So I was having this intake continue till 15th, but I've extended till the 24th because some people keep asking for an extension. So the intake has been extended to 24th, which is next week, Saturday, I believe. This class is 6,000 shillings, 59 shillings, $59 for non-Kenyan payments. And the class is a 5-month class. That means you will get access to the content for 5 months. If you join now, you're going to have access to that class until January. Some people will go till February, right? And we are covering everything, or as much of everything as we can cover. So I'm doing beginner to intermediate level cake making and decoration. You're going to learn how to do butter cakes, sponge cakes. As you can see, there's a list of cakes we're doing: vanilla, chocolate. I'm covering the classics: red velvet, chocolate fudge. We're doing lemon cakes, light fruit cake, rich fruit cake, right? We're doing all that stuff. We're also going to be doing all the sponge cakes, right? We're going to do chiffon cake, vanilla, the biscuit types of cakes, angel food cake, Genoese cakes. We're going to do Swiss rolls. I'm also going to teach you guys how to do this trending flavor fusions: cafe mocha, lemon blueberry. We're going to do the lotus biscoff cake, salted caramel. We're also going to do pina colada and the Oreo cake. I'm also going to teach you guys how to use American buttercream frosting, whipped cream frosting. We're going to decorate the classics: black forest, white forest. I'm going to teach you how to even do fondant icing, right? I've added those bonuses. You're going to learn how to use rice paper to decorate cake, wafer paper to decorate cake. So this is not just a beginner class. It's beginner all the way to intermediate. So if you've been dabbling in baking and you're looking to really get serious, this is it. Another thing that I'm adding to that module is how to start a baking business at home. So that's one of the things I'm going to be covered. There's a whole module where we're going to cover that. And also, I'm throwing in 2 other freebies of how to make bread and cookies as well, right? So just for home use for anybody who is interested. As you can see, the lovely cakes you're seeing there on the left, right? Those are the cakes you're going to be able to decorate and bake if you pay attention and you practice in the class. Those are the things you should be making when you're done with the class. So what do you need to join the class? These are the requirements for class. You have to make sure you have access to a smartphone, laptop, or a PC, and internet connection, right? This is so that you can watch the videos. The class videos are going to be posted. Now, they're not going to be live because I want you to be able to watch anytime. So they're pre-recorded. We post them. Once it's posted, you have 5 months to watch that video. You can watch, however many times you want. You can watch in the morning, evening, at night, whatever time. I will be doing monthly live streams, kind of like this, but in a Facebook group. However, once I finish the live stream, it's going to be reposted so you can watch at any time, right? Now, to join the class, you do have to make full payment to get access to the class. We do have the best foundation you need to get started, right? I'll give you support for 5 months and after, so that when you have questions and you're troubleshooting, you have challenges, I'm able to help you out with that, right? And again, there's other bakers. We already have like about 6 people in the class. So you will have a community of bakers who are in the same journey with you, and you can reach out to them, or you can just share stories with them if you're interested. And again, you can watch it anytime from your kitchen, especially for those people who are not able to attend our classes. This is a great way to actually do this without having to come to the workshop. We have a total of 8 modules, so you can WhatsApp DM, so I send you the poster for all modules. But I wanted to just show you guys 2 of the modules, right? So as you can see, module 2 has vanilla cake, how to cost and price, because we're going to do costing and pricing. Sorry for the noise. I'm going to do introduction to rich cakes. These are chocolate fudge, red velvet, light fruit cake, rich fruit cake. I'm going to talk to you about how to cost and price using an Excel sheet. Module 8, this is the final module. We're going to do fondant and cake stacking, how to give structure to tall cakes and stacked cakes, how to stack a 2-tier cake, how to make fondant icing, how to decorate a simple cake using fondant. And we're also going to do a gift box that's fondant, and you get to learn how to do that. So tons and tons of value in this course. Some people do ask me, do I give a certificate of participation for online classes? Usually I don't. But for this course, I am, right? I am for this course, but you have to make sure you put in the hours, and I have specific guidelines for those people who want. So again, if you want to enroll, as you can see, you can use the number on the screen to make inquiries or just DM, and I will let you know. Now, the fifth tip that I wanted to share with you guys, for those of you who are looking to get started in baking, it seems so simple, but the interesting thing is that it is the game changer for everybody. This is the one thing people will not tell you. This is what you need to do to perfect your craft. Any teacher can teach you, but if you cannot practice, you will not learn. So for every class I attend, this is just my rule. Every class I attend, no matter what it is, even to this day, even if I'm doing business classes, because I've done even business mentorships myself, I like practicing everything I've learned for at least 60 hours. So for every class I would attend, I would do 60 hours or more of practice to fully understand the concept. Now, most people might be thinking 60 hours is a lot. It's not, guys. It's 3 hours a day for 20 days. That's like less than a month. Okay. So just decide. You can decide Monday, Wednesday, Friday. I'm going to take 3 hours and I'm going to practice. So when I did the first two basics courses I did that. When I learned cake making, when I learned baking pastries, because that's the first things I did ever. Later on, I started taking advanced baking professional courses like breads, puff pastry, croissants. I practiced for over 100 hours. And then I started doing cake decoration. I started doing fondant. I would literally practice for 100 hours. Once I would do 100 hours of practice, I would at least feel that I've understood. So what I want to tell you guys is that the difference between a baker who's successful after learning is the one who practices. Why? You have to repeat. You have to repeat to be able to learn this thing and start getting the experience you need. And that's actually how you go from hobbyist to beginner, beginner to intermediate, intermediate to master baker. The more hours you put after learning correctly, please note, I've said after learning correctly, because there's a lot of people who don't learn correctly, guys. So when you learn the right way and then you practice the right way is when you start mastering something. And to be full honesty here, guys, we don't have everybody in our class perfect, right? We don't, because only about 40 to 50% of our students actually practice. So those 40 to 50 who actually practice, right? They're the ones who get the results. The rest, they don't. And unfortunately, if you don't practice, you're not able to perfect. I actually sadly had a student come and repeat a class. Well, not the same exact class, but she had to come back to class because I think she had taken the class 3 or 4 years before and had forgotten everything. So please, when you learn, perfect by practicing. Now, as you might be wondering, how do we do that? Okay, here's an example, guys. This is my work in 2007 to 2008. Like, I look at this work and I laugh just because, but I don't laugh too much because this is where you start from, right? Love bubbles if you love where I started, guys. This was my work in 2007, 2000. And I was so proud of it, by the way, guys. To this day, I was like so proud of whatever I was doing. I just thought it was amazing. Now, of course, over time, I have perfected my craft. I've learned different things. And of course, I have gotten better at this. As you can see, even the internal, like I look at this Swiss roll, it makes me so happy because there's times I used to cry because of just the fact that I'm just doing a bad job with my my cakes, right? So with a lot of practice over the years, my results have gotten better. And to this day, because you never stop learning, when I learn something, I practice it. I practice it over and over and over again. And because of that practice and because of that experience, I'm able to get my students the same results, right? So as you can see, these are nothing I have done. These are all results from people who've passed these are practical classes. There's Immaculée there. As you can see, there's a lady who came for a fondant class. Her name is Cynthia. We have James over there with the cinnamon rolls. And on the far right, that's Eunice, who did a whipped cream decoration class with us. These are results from our students. Because of practicing and understanding the concepts, I've been able to do the same for our students, right? Whether you're online, whether you're practical, however it is. And so that's the same thing for you guys. Don't learn something and sit on it. Right? Please, 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 please. Perfect. So what action for you? What action should you take? Once you learn correctly, again, like I said, you can buy an ebook, you can do an online class, or you can do a practical class. Here's another thing people do, like, and this is done even by chefs all over the world. Find a professional and be an apprentice to them for like a year. You can sit down and talk with them and see, how can I apprentice? There's many people who've learned this way and become master bakers and master decorators. You can be an apprentice for somebody who deliberately teaches you something, right? I've taken on interns and done the same. So once you learn the right way, realize it's just the beginning. You need to work on practicing first 60 to 100 hours. Once you do that, that's not it, guys. That just means you've understood. Now, after that, you've got to practice over and over what you've learned, right? So to gain experience and to master, you have to practice. That's just the truth. So if you have any questions on getting started at home, do comment below. Hit them like bubbles, hit the like button, hit them love bubbles if you're on TikTok. And I hope this has really, really, really helped you. I think that's it from me for today. If you're on social media, just make sure you search Baking with Amari on YouTube, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, and you can follow us for tons and tons. For those of you on TikTok, I will definitely be going live more often. Hopefully, I'm thinking on Sundays, I'll be able to do more and more lives. On YouTube, I usually schedule some of these lives so you guys can join me. I appreciate all of you guys joining me. I hope this has helped. YouTube, I will see you guys next time.